Conversations continue on improving the Rays outfield for cheaper.
You are Locked On Rays, your daily Tampa Bay Rays podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome into the Locked On Rays podcast. Locked On Rays is part of the Locked On Podcast Network, now the #1 sports podcast network, your team every day. And we are Kevin and Ulises.
And we are lifelong Rays fans who have been podcasting about the Tampa Bay Rays since 2019.
Later on today's show, the Rays tendered contracts to all 12 of their arbitration-eligible players and struck a deal with Cole Sulser. In a few minutes, the Rays still have work to do in boosting their outfield, but to start, the Rays are in talks to bring back Jake Fraley following his DFA.
And we're going to talk about all of that thanks to Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONMLB for $20 off your first purchase. Kevin, Jake Fraley's injury history warrants bringing him aboard on a cheaper deal.
Yes, so Jake Fraley, of course, he was with the Rays for about a week and then got DFA'd. And the thought was, well, what was all that about? Why go through the maneuver of bringing him on board and then letting him go? But now it starts to make a little bit more sense that the Rays, it seems that they do intend to want to have Jake Fraley on the roster, albeit on a cheaper deal with some incentives baked into that. And it is understandable because something we may have overlooked in Jake Fraley's pretty lengthy career, having played parts of 7 seasons in the majors, he has hit the injured list 13 times as a big leaguer. So when you look at it one way, you say, man, can't the Rays just pay $3.6 million to a veteran that could really make a positive impact as a platoon and a veteran leader and can play all 3 outfield positions? And then the other side of that is he gets hurt quite a bit because he does bring aboard a very aggressive style of play. And what are the Rays doing in 2026? They're playing back at the Trop, which is no friend to an outfielder as far as the knees and lower extremities, if you will.
Yeah, and let's just remember his numbers: 248, a 333 on base, 402 slug, that's 735 OPS, a 100 OPS plus. So you're getting a guy who's just going to give you average production. But what you mentioned there is the platoon is going to improve those numbers if you use them correctly to the right split. And also the fact that the Rays have a loaded roster of young guys. And just like Jankowski did in his short time, yes, there is value to bringing in some guys that have actually been there, done that.
It does indeed. And the fact, if you look at his career with the Mariners, Reds, and Braves, a career 248 average and 735 OPS. I mean, based on the offensive production or lack of offensive production from the outfield this past season, you would take that. Even you would take league average at this point. I think there is a solid, verifiable role for Jake Fraley. It's interesting that, they're courting Jake Fraley, but they clearly have no interest in Chris Morel, because if you read the articles, it's like, yeah, we experienced the Morel experience for a year and a half, and we did not like what we see, and we have no intention of bringing him back. But Jake Fraley is a guy that I think they are really wanting to target. The issue is he is a free agent. So maybe the Rays have some inroads as to how competitive the market will be, but there's also a risk. If you really want Jake Fraley, you could have kept him around and paid him $3.6 million. On the other side of things, who knows if there's going to be any competition for him in the offseason.
I would think there's always going to be the competition for a guy with those numbers that we've just said about Jake Fraley, and the fact that he's an 8-year veteran. I think there would be some other team at least that could give him a gander, but it's going to be tough, at least from the outside looking. And maybe the Rays have a tremendous amount of conversation with Jake even prior to this, and this was the plan all along, and they told him that. So this is from the outside looking in. man, you're gonna sign with a team that literally just got you and then DFA'd you like 10 days later. And like that's a tough thing to swallow, right? Like it just pride in and of itself. Like these guys are not machines; they're a human being, and they were just told, "Hey, we want you, but not for this much money." And like when that's your livelihood, like Jake Fraley is not a math genius. I don't know Jake Fraley, but I can guarantee you he's no, Goodwill Hunting. Okay. So like
not that we know of, you never know though.
Yeah, maybe, maybe Jake Fraley is a young Matt Damon, but in the case that he's not, this is his livelihood. This is what he has dedicated his whole career towards. And once it's done, you better have been able to squeeze every penny out of your talents so that you could have a good life. And when stuff like this happens, it just makes you feel like, how likely is it that you'd go to that employer that said, not for that much?
Yeah, unless, there were conversations beforehand, and maybe the agent of Jake Fraley kind of gave him a wink and nudge, like, hey, the market might be kind of thin for you. Because we've seen it time and time again, a guy like Jake Fraley that, has been serviceable, average, above average, has wowed at times. All that is out there is, an invite to spring camp, basically, a minor league deal. Yeah. And you just never know. It's all contingent on the market and how strong the outfield core is in free agency, which, there's some names out there, but, some guys you look back and say, man, how did he not get another offer? He's just, 30 years old. And then you look back and say, well, he's been on the injured list 13 times. And if you're the Rays, that is something that you have to think about and consider, because we have, 2025 is a reminder of giving guys millions of dollars and not producing, i.e. Ha-Seong Kim, i.e. Shane McClanahan, and then seeing the injuries of other outfielders like Richie Palacios and Johnny DeLuca, it can sting a little bit.
And the fact is, if those two are in your plans, Palacios and DeLuca, and then if you're adding another guy that's injury riddled. Oh, and by the way, have I told you about Josh Lowe and his injuries in the last 2 years? Like now, then you're like, okay, we're just collecting injured, riddled outfielders. Like what happens if they all possibly go down? And you're going into a stadium that is not friendly to outfielders, like we very much know from all of the outfielders talking about it. Carl Crawford, Desmond Jennings, Kevin Kiermaier. So it's tough. Hopefully we do get to see him, because I feel like those numbers and the pedigree of being a veteran leadership like that, I think that's valuable for the Rays to have in a roster so full of young guys. But we won't know just yet.
Yeah. And let's be honest, even bringing aboard Jake Fraley won't totally cure or solve the outfield woes of the Rays.
The NBA is back, and there's no better place to get in on the action than FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of the NBA. Even if you missed the start of the game, or you want to ride the hot hand, FanDuel has live bets on everything from who will score next to fourth quarter comebacks. And you know what? You can always use them as green Skittles on FanDuel. That's always a lot of fun. And right now, FanDuel is giving you customers $300 in bonus bets when your first $5 bet wins. You heard that right. $300 in bonus bets to new customers when your first $5 bet wins. So head to FanDuel.com right now to sign up and play your game with FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of the NBA.
Thank you for listening to the Locked On Rays podcast and making us your very first to listen every day. We appreciate it. We are part of the Locked On Podcast Network, the #1 sports podcast network in all the land. And the Rays still have more work to do to boost their outfield, whether Jake Fraley is in the fold or not in the fold. Because Ulises, as we remember, in 2025, the Rays outfield collectively ranked at or near the bottom of most offensive categories. I'm not going to run through all of them because they were so scary and spooky. If you go back to our Halloween episode on that. And so, the thought is, okay, we get Jake Fraley back. no longer have Chris Morel, no longer have Everson Pereira, who was a top 100 prospect, but the Rays felt that, hey, we can squeeze out more value by adding in a reliever who has some major league experience. And then there's also the Ryan Vilade question, who is, for all intents and purposes, an unknown. He's out of options and can't be sent down. The Rays seem to like the fact that his bat is developing, and there might be some secret that can be untapped there. And also he plays the infield. But you look at it and, the complexion, and again, it's still early. It's only November 23rd as of this recording. We have to have something to talk about. But the complexion of the outfield isn't that much different. I feel like the problems are still in tow as of right now. You still have Josh Lowe, who we're not really sure what we're going to get from him. We hope we can get more of 2023 Josh Lowe than the last couple of years of Josh Lowe. Richie Palacios still an unknown. He only played 17 games last season. Johnny DeLuca still an unknown, relatively, played just 20 games last season. And then you're hoping that the rookies can build off what they did in 2025 in Jake Mangum and Chandler Simpson. But you package all that together, even with Jake Fraley, and I still see this outfield being ranked at or near the bottom of most offensive categories, unless the Rays are expecting tremendous bounce backs in production from the group that they have, which I guess is theoretically possible.
Flimsy, I think it's the word for this outfield, because of the injury question marks and also because of the lack of power. Now, they do have a ton more skills. Like, there's athleticism in that bunch. There is a bunch of speed. There is hustle, which I think people sometimes confuse with speed. For example, John Jaso hustled.
Mm-hmm.
It might be a catch or not, but he hustled. So I feel like that's also another quality that all of those guys have. It's just, man, what are you trying to build as Neander and company with this outfield? Are you really going to say to the fan base, this is fine, but what path are you taking? Are you taking this is our DNA, this is who we are, or a speedster type of bunch? We're going to try to get a little bit better with the glove, though.
Yeah.
And we're just going to wreak havoc on the bases. We're going to slap the ball around and just try to get in on the base as much as possible, because we've seen that after Josh Lowe's repeated oblique injuries, the power has been sapped, which is, if you just know anatomy 101, you have oblique issues, maybe you're not going to have that torque as much as you used to. So is that maybe what the plan is with this bunch of players, is saying, let's go this route, let's go and hope that it turns out to be a 2014, 2015 Kansas City Royals type of ball club? Or are we seeing a lot of redundancy, like our buddy Evan Klosky has said in the past with Mangum and Chandler Simpson, and they're saying, look, what is the difference between DeLuca, Palacios, Chandler Simpson, and Jake Mangum? Speedy, not tall guys, it's
scrappers.
So what are you trying to do there? Maybe are you trying to maybe get some trade going on so that you can add some pop and give away some of that speed? So if you have a magic 8-ball, Kevin, which I know you do, tell us, what does Eric Neander think about what he's going to be doing this offseason? Path A or path B?
Well, I will say that in some of his comments, it is clear that, the outfield has to be better as a group than last year. But I think that he might be putting more weight on defensive improvements, because we are moving back to Tropicana Field, where you can maybe realize or settle with offense not being all that great. But if you have 3 defenders out there that can catch anything and everything, that is an important facet for sure. I mean, based on what we've talked about and what's been reported out there, the Rays are going to be seeking starting pitching, veteran pitching in free agency. So that's likely a big chunk of money that will be allocated to that. So I feel if the Rays are going to make any significant upgrade to their outfield core, as far as, power, pop, and, just more life in the bat, I think it would have to be a trade where you eliminate one of the redundancies and throw in a prospect or two, need for need, where there might be a team out there that really needs a guy that can put bat to ball and can steal you 35 to 45 bags, whatever it is. So I feel like the trade may be more possible where you're trying to find somebody. I don't want to say a diamond in the rough, but and again, saying that, hey, maybe we can find another Randy Rosarina out there is unrealistic, but somebody who is nipping at the bud for an opportunity that the Rays feel like can really make an impact, or you can maybe work out a deal to get a proven vet at a discount. I know that Nick Castellanos, for example, has lost favor to the Philadelphia side of things. So those might be your options, because the reality is we're not getting Cody Bellinger and we're not getting Kyle Tucker. So, and beyond that, as far as the outfield options, I don't think the Rays would make a move for some of the other guys that are out there.
Okay. Well, after pumping us up that way, Kev, I'll give you another question. If the Rays decide, hey, maybe we're just going to try to get better with the glove, we'll go that defensive route, it's still heavy on the names, right? It still looks like, if you add Palacios, Josh, DeLuca, Simpson, Mangum, Vilade, maybe Fraley, you can't carry all these guys.
No.
So even if you decide to go this route and let's go get better with the glove and we'll see what happens, there's some fat to trim there.
There is. And the thing too with Fraley is you add him, you have to create a 40-man spot.
Right.
So maybe that is part of the wheels in motion of, hey, once we get Fraley, then we can quote unquote remove some of the fat and make a maneuver to, ultimately, I guess, shrink down the numbers of the guys in the outfield, but also get better quality in that as well. So.
And the Rays tried to shrink down a couple numbers after the non-tender deadline came and went without any surprises, people, from the Rays, except the fact that they locked down Cole Sulser. NFL season is back, and honestly, there's nothing better than being in the stadium surrounded by fans cheering on your team. But let's be honest, getting tickets can always be a hassle. Between queues, login screens, it's always a mess. And that's why I use Game Time, the app that gives the advantage back to fans. In fact, I was in Fort Lauderdale a couple of weeks back. I wanted to see a soccer game. Guess what I did? I used Game Time, because you'll always get 100% authentic tickets. So today, download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONMLB for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, that's promo code LOCKEDONMLB for $20 off your first purchase. Swipe, tap, ticket, go. Download Game Time today. Thank you for joining us at Locked On Rays, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day, and now the #1 podcast network in the land.
Mm-hmm.
The Rays have high hopes for Cole Sulser in the bullpen. Kevin, like we talked about in the tease, the tender deadline was a relatively uneventful day for the Rays, because out of the 12 arbitration eligible players, the one that really stuck out was the 1 year, $1.05 million deal with Cole Sulser, who is basically becoming a Rays legend. The dude is just like becoming, every couple of years, just part of the bullpen, goes out to pitches with another team, couple teams, then comes back, does the things, rinse and repeat. He's like our version of, who's the Braves closer that's like Jesse Chavez?
Yeah.
He's that guy.
It's interesting. So it was relatively uneventful for the Rays, offering contracts to 12 other arbitration eligible players. But they want, I guess the idea was like, hey, we definitely just want to lock up Cole Sulser. They signed him to a split contract for next season. He is set to make $1.05 million in the majors, or $600,000 in AAA, and that $600K salary is guaranteed. And here's the thing with Cole Sulser. It is like he has 9 lives. I mean, he's 35 years old. He was a 20-something round draft pick, and he's found success over the years. It just feels like for one reason or another, he doesn't get the respect that he probably deserves. I mean, if you look at his numbers, and I know he only pitched a limited number of innings in 2025 and 2024, but I mean, those are pretty solid and pretty reputable. And we can see that the Rays are making moves, whether you know the names or don't know the names, to upgrade and put more names in the bullpen with all the trades that they've made and acquisitions that they've made and locking down Cole Sulser. And I think that, look, I'm not going to come out here and say that Cole Sulser is going to be the future closer or anything like that. But if
Kevin, you don't want to do a hot take on November 24th.
I'm not going to do that hot of a take. We'll burn the stove on that one. But I think if you relatively low to medium leverage, you could throw him out in the 7th, 8th, or 9th inning. And I know his stuff isn't completely overwhelming, but he knows how to pitch. He can ramp the fastball on the edges and up in the zone to 94 miles per hour. He can locate the changeup down in the zone. He can use that sweeper against righties. Like, he is pretty well refined when you look at it. And it does make sense that the Rays want to bring him back and do see a role for him, because there's worse options out there than having Cole Sulser in your back pocket to eat some innings. Let's just hope he's able to stay healthy for an entire season and can do what he needs to do. I mean, I think his best season was back in 2021 with the Orioles. And as we know with relievers, you could have a couple down years or have a couple injured years and come back and really make a strong impact. And
they know him. Like, he's been in the organization for a while. I feel like, again, with the volatility of the bullpen, like you're saying, it's kind of you roll the dice here, and for $1 million or at least $600,000 guaranteed, it's worth the gamble, because when you look at the total projected salaries out of the arbitration guys, it's less than $30 million, man. It's less than $30 million. Like, it's unreal. If you look at the amounts, like, they are. You can add.
Yes, you can add. That's the key. That's the key point from all of this with the 12 arbitration eligible players. Now, some of them might go to arbitration and win or lose, but ultimately, I mean, out of these, basically half your roster you can get for less than $30 million. And we're talking about some notable names. We're talking about Josh Lowe. We're talking about Ryan Pepio. We're talking about Shane McClanahan. We're talking about Clevenger and Shane Baz and so on and so forth.
Kevin, the guys that are not listed there because they have deals, it's like Brendan Lau, $11 million. Yandy Diaz, $11 million. Like, it's not even like big money. There's no
Juan Pete Fairbanks, negative $11 million because you don't have him on the roster anymore.
Yeah, there's
Morel,
no
another
$50 million guy.
Yeah,
there's not. So, like, having these bunch of players, basically your half roster, like you're saying, costing you less than $30 million, it's unfathomable that, like, yes, lock down Cole Sulser. Yes, I'm looking forward to what he can do in a 6th, 7th inning role, but this just gives me hope that there is enough money, under the cushions for Zalewski and Co. that they actually do end up surprising us.
I would think so. Now, to put a bow on all this, the next key date for the group of ARB eligible players is the January 9th exchange of requested salaries, as the Rays typically try to work out deals in advance. If figures are exchanged, the case under team policy is to go to a hearing, but they won't have to do that with Cole Sulser. They've got him in their back pocket, and hopefully he can make an impact. It is a really cool story. A guy out of Dartmouth. Yeah. We don't know about Jake Fraley's math skills, but I would imagine Cole Sulser is probably pretty good in that arena, among other arenas as well. So hopefully he can stick around and do some good things for the Rays on just a $1 million salary, give or take.
Comment math skills if you're still on this part of the episode. I think we should start doing that. Math skills on the comment box. Boom.
Yes, give us a nice arbitration or calculus problem, and we'll try to answer that without the help of ChatGPT. On that note, we hope you all have a wonderful day. Stay safe, and we will talk to you later.